Hi everyone and welcome to Adobe Live. We'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we are creating and streaming from today and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. My name is Flynn and I'm here with Dale Bigeni. What's up, Dale?
Not much, man. Back for another round of fun and drawing of rabbits. All is well.
All is well in the world. Yeah, we had a lot of fun yesterday. So yesterday we were in Photoshop and learning a bit about like composition, reference and things like that. We'll jump over in a second. We'll do a bit of a recap in case you missed it. If you want to catch the full thing, you can always catch our replays on Adobe APAC Live on YouTube, or they're here in Behance for a while as well. What's up, chat? We are live, so if you've got questions as we're rolling along, throw them in chat. That's what we're here for. Help you out in whatever you're working on. If you've got any questions about Photoshop, Illustrator, Dale's a good man to ask because he jumps into both all the time.
Always, yeah, definitely.
And happy Lunar New Year as well as we jump through. So we're here for an hour, so let's just jump straight through. Maybe we'll kick off with a bit of a recap, Dale, of what we did.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. We've got your screen up here, and we've got.
Awesome.
I'm just going with Dash for the name because I really like
Dash.
That, suggestion.
We spoke about the name. Dash is the rabbit, and we kind of composed it based off like some elements we found online. We spoke quickly about like Flynn said, you can watch the whole thing over on YouTube, but I'll just give you the real quick recap. So we found a bunch of assets that we thought were kind of inspiring in line with what we were trying to achieve. So we then kind of spoke about different ways of concepting and stuff like that. I'm just gonna put my screen this. So we kind of spoke about different ways of composing art and the importance of using it as reference or however you want to treat it. Just make it your own and kind of just have fun with it, explore different styles, different techniques. There's a lot of different ways you can create, but we spoke primarily about using the symmetry tool and using some references to help guide us into the right direction. And we kind of came up with this guy on the right over here, Dash. He's looking quite angry compared to where we started, so we're just going to run with the attitude and all that sort of stuff, but we are going to talk about some Illustrator stuff today. So I'm going to jump over to Illustrator. We quickly set it up yesterday, so here's what set it up. We opened the file and placed it in. So we're kind of ready to kind of start illustrating this. Yesterday we did talk about live paint and live trace and what that does to the artwork. Again, you can see that on the previous video. I won't spend too much time on that, but we're just going to talk about different techniques of creating vector art out of this Photoshop sketch and the reasons why I would do it this way versus doing it another way. Like a lot of people ask, why don't you just do the whole thing in Illustrator? I just like the freedom of how Photoshop works. I like to just jump between the two programs. It keeps you familiar as well with the two programs. So you're always learning new skills in both and then, meshing them together, and you kind of don't miss anything, because if you stay out of a program long enough, there's a whole heap of updates, and then you kind of are like, oh, where'd that 3D tool go, or whatever the case may be. So jumping between the programs is good for that purpose, but also it's just good to just have a sound knowledge across the suite. People will appreciate it, all the way through to like After Effects, InDesign. They all play happily together, so why not, right?
It's funny you should say that. You even mentioned InDesign, but I was just going to throw out, my wife works from home and she has the Creative Suite. She's got this problem where she needs to create this document for like 47 different campuses. Okay. The whole thing's exactly the same, but it needs to have the name of the campus there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you know how to do mail merge in InDesign, right? She's like, no, what's that? And I quickly showed her how to do that. She's like, oh my God, I have to do this all the time. And I'm like, just put it in a database and then plug it in, mail merge it out, and you'll have like 47 posters done. And she's like, that would have taken me all day. Well, like every time she does that sort of job, she knows that she can just design something in InDesign, pop a little box in, and
it is quite intuitive. It's like they're not real hard to get your head around. You just need to be shown once and then you're pretty good. So
hopefully, she's like, this is easy.
Yeah, so hopefully that's what we'll do today. I'll show you a couple of things that I think make my job easier, and hopefully it'll make you guys have a smoother workflow. If not, feel free to ask questions like Flynn said, and we'll try to do our best to resolve any issues or problems you may have encountered. So I'm just going to get into it. I do want to talk about like making custom brushes and things like that. So I'm just going to go back into Photoshop for 1 second. I'll close some of these.
That's cool. And just a shout out to everyone in chat as well. You know, we've got Gareth here and Alessandra, Johanna, Michael as well. What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing well.
I'm just going to pull this, I guess, pattern board here. So I found this on, this is just like I said yesterday, I don't travel too far for my searches anymore. Just do a quick little Google search and, you know, find what I need and keep moving, keep the wheels moving. So I have this pattern. Obviously it's a low resi. I'm sure if you look hard enough, you can probably find a high res vector file that you could probably pay for. But for the purpose of what we're doing, I'm going to just show you a quick way that I will create a brush out of certain shapes. So I'm going to recreate this circle, and instead of using the circle, obviously I'm just going to trace this pattern down here and then show you how to throw it into the brushes so that it's a pliable brush.
Cool.
So let's just do that real quick. So bear with me. So I've got the artwork, I just dropped it in. You can see it's very low res. You can see all those pixels.
Yeah.
Not great. So I'm just going to knock this back a bit, maybe like to 20%.
So just the opacity.
Yeah, just the opacity. Oh, hello, get back in there. Sorry, I just pulled the window out.
Window just decided
to. All right, so yeah, just dial the opacity back just so I can see what's happening. And then I'm not gonna be too precious about this. I'm just gonna try to get it somewhat in the middle here. So I will just pick a stroke that's, you know, close to it. Obviously this is just a standard brush that I've got set. So this is the standard pen tool, no tricks, nothing. I'm just
holding down shift there to
keep those lines straight, correct? And that, so you get those little purple lines, that's your intersect line. So that means I'm in the same position for this anchor point as this one over here, just in case people are wondering what the pink is. So the pink is my intersect line. It didn't pop up on anything else, so clearly this might be a little bit sketchy. That's all right. We're working on the fly here. All right, so I've got, obviously that pattern just repeats, so I'm not going to spend too much time going over it. I'm just going to get this stroke a little bit thicker. Just going into the weight of the stroke over here. But some of this stuff is probably just pretty basic stuff, but I'm just going to explain every part that I do so we don't miss anything. All right, so I'm going to just duplicate this, do a step and repeat kind of vibe. I'm just going to, I knew that was going to happen. So this line to overlap a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you're overlapping them.
Yeah, so I want to
pull the first one out a little bit.
Yeah, so all I do, well, this is what I do. Again, you might have a better way to do this. There is like, I'm just holding Alt, Shift, dragging it across to get a copy, line it up, and then I just do Command D, and it just will duplicate across, like, so pretty good. Standard stuff, right? Oh, look, I say standard. Maybe someone didn't know that. Sorry if that made anyone feel silly.
No, it's always good. Like, particularly we find with the lives, we could do like an hour-long live about some like complicated process or something that takes you like your lifetime to master or something. But then there's just a button that someone uses or a shortcut. Yeah, people are like, what? What was that?
And it's funny because like I find myself doing things the long way still, and that's probably just I'm just a creature of habit. Like there's always like things are evolving just like the programs, and there's probably a better way to do this, but I always say if it works, what is it? Don't fix it if it ain't broke, you know. Like I could still get most of what I need done in the same way I always have. So I've just got all those lined up across there. They're all even. They're all like tight on top of each other. There's no gaps. So I'll just go into object, path, outline the stroke, and then I'll just go into my pathfinder, which is not. It probably is here somewhere, but let's just try that open. No?
I do that all the time with menus. Like I can't see it straight away, so I'll just go down and do it, and I often have to click it twice because it's somewhere buried.
It's already there. Yeah,
it's already there. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I'll just press the merge or unite, and I'll just. And so now it's all. Oh, sorry. Let me do it this way. So you can see that there's these two overlapping lines. So that means they're all still separate pieces overlapping. And then all I want to do is. So I'm just working in wireframe mode, so outline mode. You do Command Y and you can see all your line work, basically like how it sits as an actual line. So there you can't see that it's not merged, but I can tell that it's not. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to do this. I'm going to change it to black. All right, and then I'm just going to get my pathfinder and hit unite, and then straight away you can see if I go into outline mode, all those separate little gaps between there have all been filled in. So now it's no longer multiple; it's just one shape, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Right.
It's great. Hey, I got a question as well.
Yeah, sure.
This is brutal because if the answer is yes, I'm going to feel the pain. Dale, have you ever forgot to save a project and had to start over?
Maybe not over, but I do it a lot. Like, people say you're supposed to have the designer's twitch where you do the Command S all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just get so caught up in stuff sometimes that I'm like, oh no, I'm sure I saved it, and then I'll for whatever reason I'll just keep going, and the program will either shut down or something will happen. I'll go, no sweat, I've saved it, and then I can notice that like I've lost maybe a half hour's worth of work. I've never lost one completely.
Right.
But I have had times where clients come back 2 years later and go, hey, can we make some amendments to this file? And for whatever reason in that 2 years, my archives have burnt out or whatever tech issue happens, and I've lost artworks that way and had to redo them off approval low resis. So that's a bit annoying. But thankfully enough, not a lot of times has that happened.
The worst one I've ever had was I was working on a big InDesign project. It was a prospectus, so it was like an 80-page document. I lost a day of work, but it wasn't from lack of saving. It was version control, so I saved it. I was working within a campus, so I was on site for the whole day, and I saved it to an external hard drive, or I thought I did. Yeah. And but I didn't actually save it. I just got the numbers mixed up, and I thought, oh yeah, that's saved there, and then so I deleted the file on my computer for storage space because it was so big. And it was an old Mac, you know what I mean? I was just doing that, and then when I went to plug it in the next day to pick up where I left off, and it was getting print ready, it was just 2 days old.
It's a horrible feeling, hey.
It's terrible.
You can fix it, but there's always a time restraint or timeline attached to these things that are missing. So it doesn't make it very fun when you got that pressure on top. So
yeah. Well, thanks for bringing that up, Alessandra. Fantastic question. I think we've all done it.
And just for saying that, I'm just going to hit save real quick. All right, so I've got my pattern drawn up. I scaled it up just so that it's kind of it's relative to what I'm looking at doing with it. So I'm gonna quickly chuck this. So I just drag this into brushes. So the brushes window, just drag it on top. Oh, my zoom core is on top of my brush thing. Okay. So now I just go to art brush and then okay. All right, and I for the most part I'll just leave it. I'm not too concerned about the tints and shades or the hue shift. These will vary the strokes ability to change color just by hitting swatches. But for me, I'm just going to do it black because, as Flynn said yesterday, a lot of my stuff is black and white. A lot of it you know, there's not a lot of color that happens all the time. So this one, I'm just going to keep black anyway. So I hit OK. So you can see that's the pattern. And now if I grab my brush tool and click, then I've got this pattern which can be drawn. And it doesn't have to be like, you can draw chains like this, scales for snakes, whatever the case may be. It's a simple trick, but like it saves you time. Like it saves heaps of time when you're doing, especially borders and things like that. At least now I can just go into here. I'm just gonna get this square. So I'm gonna pull some rulers over my artwork. Guides, should I say? Guides. It's probably not completely square, but now I can get a square. I just want to make sure I'm doing a symmetrical artwork here. That I can already see. So I'm holding shift to try to hold the size uniform, and I can already see that it's not completely square.
I do this all the time. Like when I like want a distance to be the same, and I'm eyeballing it, and I'm like, it looks pretty good, but then I'll often draw a shape and like copy it and move it somewhere, and I'll just be like, is that actually right? And I'm like, it was off a little bit.
Yeah, and because it's all the difference, right? Like it's just that little bit. Like I know I can look at something all day and then I stare at it and go, it looks a little bit off, and just bugs me forever. And then it'll go to print, and I know for a fact that it's definitely gonna be wrong. Like I see it printed, and my heart breaks. I'm like, oh wow, I should have just. It took 2 seconds to put the guides down, and that's now where square is. So I can grab my circle now, and that should be corner to corner. Done, and then I can get my brush. Oh, did I close the brushes? Just thought I was just through with them. And then I can hit that, and I've got my pattern is kind of, it's there, it's good to go, it's ready to do its thing.
Nice.
I can scale a bit, get back to square. Can even play around with the size if I want. But it won't necessarily change the amount of segments, I guess. Is that the word? Like it won't add any more. Yeah,
I know what you mean. It won't like increase the element or something more times. There's not more steps or something.
I actually think that if you change, I'm certain. Oh, where'd I put it? I think there are ways where it can. Like it, or I guess it's just however long, because it's a set size. Like if I do it this long, it adds that many to fit the space. So look, it's working for what we need to do here, and I've got my shape in there, and I don't have to do much else. So I can go in and I can create outlines on that if I want to expand the appearance. And that's already good to go. So I can pull that to the side, and that's one of my assets done already. So that didn't take long.
Awesome.
Pretty quick, pretty easy. So I'll just leave. I like to do, most of the time I like to draw everything separately, but there are times where I'll just, if I'm really confident with the artwork and I know that's exactly how it's going to sit, I'll just put this in and start like, you know, drawing the rabbit over the top and, you know, deleting the background of the border. But for this case, we're gonna build it in a bit of a layered format. So that's that. Now we can talk about our outlines for the rabbit. Yesterday I spoke about doing multiple, or not multiple. There's a couple of ways that I would usually draw. Most of the time I would use the actual pen tool. So like, you know, go around really quickly, you know, just really like, even to the point where if there's a few little jagged lines, I'm not too fast, I can fix them later, but I'd go really quickly through here. And it's funny, I use the Wacom, but I find it much easier to use this pen tool with the mouse.
Yeah, the pen tool's one of the only things, right, where it can be a little bit funny with any sort of
Stylus, yeah.
stylus. Yeah.
Like it's great, and I know there's a few artists out there that are like very proficient with like pen tool and mouse, and it's definitely makes more sense. I try to do it with the pen tool just because it's always in front of me, but this time I'm working on that pen tool with my actual mouse. So yeah, that's just like, and again, I'm going to do this symmetrical, so I know I only need to work on one half of the artwork. I might add some details at the very end that like make it seamless. So maybe like a sparkle in the eye on one side, or like you can have a scar, or like, you know, I'll always add some details at the end where I might like, I don't know, maybe his ear gets changed to like folded a little bit on one side. But like for the most part, I like to just build one whole side and then make it uniformed, and then I'll start erasing. And what's the purpose or the benefit to that? None really. It's just again, it's out of habit. I like to do that because I know I've got like a solid structure. I'll pull this guy to the side, the same as that, the same as the background, obviously when it's all finished. So I'll have a finished bunny head here, and then I know that there's like I've still got the original while I muck around with whatever's going on in here. So I think it's important to always like have that in the back of your mind. So that's one way. So everyone knows the pen tool, I hope. That's kind of classic Illustrator. We also have, I'm just going to say, so then you can go in and obviously move point by point. So this is just me grabbing one anchor point, and then if I really want to, you can go in and adjust the curves and things like that, still using the pen tool. Things like this, it's very subtle, that little, you can see I don't know if you can see that, Flynn, can you see the little, like the hard edge here? So it doesn't really, no, it doesn't curve. So it doesn't curve.
You're talking about like that unnatural kind of look that you get sometimes when you're doing a path in Illustrator, yeah.
It can get very, let's call it digital looking, where it's very like structured and stuff like that. So in Illustrator, obviously, if you've ever clicked on the anchor, you get these little circles pop up, and they just allow you to like, I think it basically just helps me smooth that line out. So I can pull that, and then you can see it separate that anchor point, but there's no longer a point. It's smoothing out that line work there. So now I've got a more natural curve on there. So you can go through, once you've got your outline, start pulling and pushing these apart, and you can see the difference in the edge there. It really does smooth it out a lot.
Yeah.
And then here, same thing. I like to just make it a little bit smooth. So I just go in. If it doesn't pop up, to me, it just means I did it that good that the computer thinks it's a very smooth line over here.
The smoothing tool is amazing. I wasn't aware of it for so long, and I'd often manually get in there with the direct selection and be playing with the anchor points for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And then I remember someone doing it on live stream, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's super handy. The other way to do it is obviously if you go to your pencil tool, which is, the shortcut is N. If you look at the smoothing tool, it doesn't have a shortcut. So I just go to the pencil, and then never really understood why it didn't have a shortcut. Like, can I apply one? Don't know. But there it is. So you go to the smooth tool, and you can do the same thing. We spoke about it quickly yesterday, but if you just draw over, you can see what it like adjusts it accordingly to those anchor points and like smooths it out for you. You can spend as long or as little time as you want on that sort of stuff. Like, I think obviously everyone works very differently. You might be happy with the first pass, but that's another way to smooth out the line. So that's pen tool and smoothing tool combined, so that they're pretty handy together. The good thing about the pen tool, obviously, and the pencil tool. So the pencil tool, sorry, just quickly, the pencil tool I would use because I do feel like it's basically like going into Photoshop and drawing your design. The only problem is if you draw really quick like I just did, I wanted that to kind of do more of this, but it just kind of smooths it out right away, like as soon as you draw it. not a negative thing. You could always just like, if you know you're gonna come to those points, I can just stop and then I can continue that line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you like you start drawing again, you can get it just attaches straight away. So it's not the end of the world. The pencil and the brush tool to me, the pencil tool are both as good as each other. Pen tool is obviously more accurate, I guess, in terms of where you're placing points and stuff. The pencil tool is a little bit like rogue. It can kind of just deviate off the path where you're going a little bit, which is fine. It's not a big deal, but you're just gonna have to spend more time making sure that it's all working. They're great because they are outlined. They're editable strokes, so I can make them as fat or as thin as I need to. So I do like to have, majority of the time, I do like to have a bold outline as per this. So let's just do this now. I'll click this. So I'll flip that. Just using the transform tool, just click on the little window here. It says flip horizontally, and then just drag it in, hold shift, make sure it's all lined up, and then get my pathfinder, click, and I've got my outline. So the rabbit, he's good to go. Like, I know I've got not only a full outline of that head, but I can also like have that fill color ready to go. If I want to do layers and start coloring, I can just add in a color layer under the outline layer. I can place that, and that's already like good to go, because you know, I don't have to color or like select another path to do that. I've already got the outline perfect, put it underneath. I've got the color there now, but we'll talk about the color later. But yeah, that's how easy it is. The benefit of having that full complete shape is that, like, when it comes to filling, like, you've already got it drawn in, so half the battle done. So I'm just gonna remove that. All right, so now all right, so I've got my design. With my outlines, I always like to set the align stroke to outside. I like the outside alignment.
Right, I never do that. Yeah, why is that?
I think the difference being is, like, if you put it on the middle, it does this like circular
blob
like
thing.
Yeah, it's got, well, mind you, I've got it set to, so see how if you play with the cap in the corner, obviously you can make it round or you can have it pointy, but I think if I have it on the outside, I feel like that's more where my outline should be, you know, like, and this doing that going in is too much for me. At least if I have it on the outline here and I know that's where I drew to, I can extend that as much as I want to, instead of the program deciding that it's either too because of the curve, it should flick that taper that much. So I think there's a bit more control for me in my mind, but that's open to discussion and argument. But I've always done it. Again, Flynn, I never really think about why, but if I'm making that stroke thicker, I feel like it's not affecting my outline that I drew. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I'm making that bigger versus if I make this bigger,
starts,
you know, it's cutting into my artwork, so I always keep it on the outside. I don't know if that's going to help anybody, but it helps me. So
that's cool. No, it's good. I like that a lot. And it's interesting, we're talking about kind of the join, the points that join, and if you see like some what's the best way to put this, like something that maybe wasn't put together super well, like on a poster or a billboard or something, like you see it from like across the street, right? Like you see
absolutely.
It sticks out. I'm sure there's a lot of people in chat that are exactly the same. You see that and you're like, oh man, they didn't do those joins very well. Like, it's kind of, that's pretty amateur hour kind of thing. And I find the sharp tapers, as you said, are also like a sign of that, right? Like when you see that, it looks.
How many times you've looked at someone's artwork on, like you said, a billboard, and you can see that they've either not like merged paths, or they haven't like they've got those points. And I don't want to say it's an amateur.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a better word for it, but
I think it's a very honest mistake, because you could be well into that artwork and think, oh, I'm just going to change this quickly to 1 point, and then not realize that when you did that, change that to a 2 point, it came all the way in. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they're honest mistakes, but they can be avoided. I just find I have more control when it's on the outside, like it's not interrupting my artwork on the inside of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my theory. Yeah, it that just works for me.
It's cool.
All right, so now we've got this. All right, so I can use the. I can also do with the pencil tool, I think, which is great if you want to use the pencil tool. If I have that line, you can go up to your uniform line and you can get tapered lines simply by just switching that uniform brush to the double tapered line. So you can either make a tapered brush, or you can just draw all your lines in and have all your lines set in the, like, I mean, this is what I'm trying to get at. So if I've got all these lines in here, okay, so I just drew all those in, and I know that they've got to be 0.75, change them to uniform, the tapered ends, and I've already got all my tapered lines in there. So it's a time saver. The negative, or the con to that is that if you, so for me, it's kind of like I don't really want it to taper into the line, so I don't want that to happen. It works. It has its times where, obviously, so under his eye would be a good example. So if I was doing this, I think this works good. So I can do that, and then I can put in those, the uniform lines, change them. That works great there.
Yeah, because you want it to taper at each end.
On both sides, yeah. So you can go in and you can, obviously you can, like I could pick this one instead. So like I would draw them in again. And this, you know, the square edge would kind of probably give me a better result, and it always does that. It always does the wrong way.
Let's do it the other way.
Yeah, so I just do it over here anyway. But yeah, you know, like, so you can, it saves you time rather than going through with the pen tool. And I could pen tool all of this, but I think what we're trying to get to is like an efficient way of working that is kind of like really handy for like time poor people, I guess. Every project should be treated as like your time poor, because everything's got a deadline, but that's two quick ways to kind of get those lines in there. Or you can do, and I speak about it a lot in a lot of what I do, but you can use the blob brush tool, which is Shift B. You can see it doing its little animation there. I think the blob tool is one of my favorites because it's very close to what Photoshop offers. It's it does have like a pressure sensitivity. It isn't. I guess the negative with the brush, the blob tool, is that, so you can see all of these lines in that circle are all lines, no matter what. They've got a start and a finish there, and they're really thin, so that means they're a path, right? So yeah, call it a path. And then when I look at it, yeah, that's great. It's, you know, editable. I can edit all these lines and make them as thin or as thick as I want. With the blob tool, you are very restricted. I think you need to be, I'm going to use the word confident. I think you need to be confident in the work that you're outputting and know that, all right, well, I know I want this there, you know, so I can do this and I know exactly what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if I look at that, they're already shaped, so I can't go in and make them any thicker, any wider, any of that sort of stuff. I'm limited to the size that I set point A to point B, and, you know, just for example, so if I double click the blob brush tool, you can see in here, it's all set to pressure. So the size is 3, the variation is 3. So I just keep them equal. So just say you want 10 and 10. So now if I go from there to here, I can get up to there, right? So like but that's going to be a lot harder to control doing these tapered lines and not ending up with, you know, chaos or anything. So I think it's great if you know, if you're confident enough to use it. I guess looking at it from this point of view, so if I've got that separate and I use the blob tool to, let's just use that massive brush to do these. Right, so I know for a fact I can go in and I can turn this onto path mode, outline mode. I can go in here and I can either just I'll just lock all the stuff I don't want to interrupt, get the eraser, and then I just go and I can delete any of that excess blob tool. And I haven't affected this line, so now I can still click on this line, make it as fat or as thin as I need to. You know, I haven't affected that, but these are all one shape, so they're set in stone kind of thing. You know, I think incorporating different techniques and stuff like that is handy. And like I said, I do flip between tools. I don't use one more than the other. I think it depends on the artwork itself. So for this one, obviously I could use the blob tool because I feel pretty confident with where I'm headed with it.
Yeah.
And I can just go in here. Yeah, so if I don't lock the path, you see that is going to happen. So if you accidentally erase there, it's going to cut your path. So I'm always cautious about what I'm doing. I only want to delete the blob tool.
And how did you lock those paths? You seem to do that pretty quick, but I wasn't sure what you did there.
So if you want to lock something, it's you know what? When you ask me, I'm
it's hard to remember, but it was obviously a shortcut, right?
Command 2 locks it,
right?
And then Shift Alt 2 unlocks it.
Unlocks it. Right.
So the problem is it doesn't just unlock that. So if you're working and you've got like everything locked, so even say my paths, I've got my guides locked. So if I lock down here, and then if I've got all this locked, and I think that I've only locked this, right? So once I unlock it, you can see it's unlocked the paths too. So it's probably better, like, the guides, I keep calling them paths. Probably better to put these on another layer anyway. So I would just put these on a guides layer. Guides. And then I'll lock it, and that way, oh, sorry, didn't even move them. How's that? So I'm just going to move these onto the guides layer. And now they're locked. So now I can just, they're not going to bother me, but now I can lock that and unlock it. So Command 2 to lock, Shift Option 2 to unlock anything on your page.
That's cool. I like that.
But yeah, so for the longest time I was creating like a lot of custom brushes and stuff like that. You know, and the custom brush thing is exactly how we did the pattern. Oh, sorry. So if I wanted that tapered edge, I think this has been around for a very long time, the profile of the brush. It's nothing new, but you know, sometimes obviously Illustrator or Adobe has selected probably the most common used, I guess, with most common used, but maybe you want like it to be a little bit more like teardroppy or something. Teardroppy, that's not even a word, but
I know what you mean.
Yeah, like you want it to look more like a teardrop, right? Like, so I can go there, I can pathfind this, I might just round out the corners. So I've got that brush. I mean, is there that brush already? No, or kind of there, but it's got this diamond shape. So let's just pretend we don't have that brush. I can drop it in here, art brush. Okay, brush direction is going that way. Just leave it like that. So now I've got that brush in there. Oh. Now I can grab my brush tool again, and now I've got like, you know, this little.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so like, I used to do that. I used to worry about like, oh, do I have the right brushes? then obviously the market opened up for guys making custom brushes and selling them. So I started buying a few because it was just like made sense to just, you know, buy them and use them. But a lot of the time, like I said, it's still, you know, basic blob tool and things like that, and just doing things the old way, just because, yeah, it's not that it works better for me. It's just that's the way that I think I work most efficiently, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. We've seen a bunch of different tools in Illustrator, and Alessandra's asked in chat, is there a tool that you didn't know how to use, but now you do and you love it?
I kind of, I'm kind of like an old dog, not wanting to learn many new tricks. I got to tell you, like, I know there's a heap of, like, I think it was cool when they introduced the perspective tool. I
Right.
thought that was really cool, like having the grid and stuff. Did I get around to mastering it? No, I kind of messed around with it, did a few things with type and stuff. But I think the blob tool was kind of my first big discovery, that I was like, what do you mean there's this brush that is like a Photoshop brush? And I didn't even know about it. So that would be my hero moment for Illustrator, finding out that there was a brush that you can paint with, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't yeah, for the longest time I thought it was just anchor points. That's all. You could only do stuff with anchor points, and to find something that was like, so, like, just I can draw like that and it feels really, like, I don't know, really comfortable.
Yeah.
That was a win. So that would probably be it.
Nice.
So yeah, and I just do like big blocks of art and take out the center, then I select all of it, go back to my smoothing tool, do that, and the system works. It just, like, everything kind of works hand in hand together, as far as like, but what I do, I find it really, like, useful. I think everything kind of has their perks to it. Like, yeah, that's not thin enough, so I might make that thicker. Yeah, that looks good. You know, like, there's no perfect way to do this. I do whatever feels right at the time. So, like, I might do, okay, I want to do all these lines down here. I might do it like this just because I want to. I would just go draw the shape in using the pen tool. I'll do this. This is another way. So I would turn that to a fill. Probably not the exact right angle, but that's fine. And then I'll just do this. Draw this down here. This is a real rough way of doing it, but I'm going to show you anyway. Hopefully this works.
I think I know where we're going. This is like my craziest discovery.
All right, I got it. Yeah, I got it. So you get the blend tool, which is obviously over here, the blend tool, and you can see the little demo of what it does. It blends those 3 points basically over there. So I use it in terms of getting that shading. Obviously, I know I want that shading to happen here. I want it to follow that curve. I set a start point, an end point. Illustrator does the rest in the middle. Is it correct? No, not really, but I go into blend. Blend options. So object, blend options. You can have smooth color. I go into specified steps. So you can see it's inserted two points in the center. I obviously want more. So you just highlight that, press the up arrow, add as many as you want, press OK, expand again, and then in true Dale fashion, just erase whatever you don't like. And there we go. It's such a time saver. Like, I love it. Like, I drew these ones in. I could have did the same thing. The blend tool is pretty cool. You could see it was having a bit of an issue there, where it's like, if you click the wrong part to blend to this part, it does kind of chuck a bit of a wobbly. So it's like you do have to be cautious. But yeah, it's like, again, it's just a little time saver that works for me. Give it a go, have a try. I'll show you one more time just how that works. So I've got this shape. Zoom in a bit. And I want it to go to this shape. And I want the path to blend just along the horizontal line here. So I'll just click on blend tool. I just click this point to this point. Oh, look at this, just go.
That's interesting. Slightly different point, and it kind of, the whole thing freaks out. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's how easy it is. And then you can use that, like, so you can expand that shape even. Let's say we like that shape. So I've got that shape now. I can even use that and add additional, like, so I can go into, where is it? Effects, warp, let's say arc. And you can kind of start playing around with this stuff and, you know, like using everything together, like all the different things. Press OK, expand again, and now I've got a new shape again. So obviously this is not relative to what I'm doing, but yeah, you know, you can work on the curves and curve it that way. So make a straight pattern, work on the curves, or do it how I did, draw the curves and then, you know, insert it into the artwork. So yeah, that's another little trick.
It's cool.
So yeah, and then I'll just go back to doing all these bold lines in with my blob tool because I said that's what I was going to do. All right.
Love the blob tool. Doesn't get enough love, I think.
Yeah, it needs all the love.
And you're just drawing on one side because you can reflect everything, right? So this
Correct.
is because we know we're fully symmetrical, well, mostly symmetrical at this point.
Yeah,
at least the rabbit is, yeah.
Oh. But see, that for me, that's enough detail that I can now take that, copy. Oops. I thought I was in InDesign, sorry.
How much time do you spend in InDesign? I wouldn't have thought you would use InDesign all that much. Or is it more for the design side of things?
I do it for like certain clients. Like I do a few like tech packs and things like that. Like for apparel and things like that. So that's a big part of it. But yeah, not as much as I just made out. I do. So now I've got my little rabbit. He's kind of cool. So I can put him over here and he can live there while I do other things to it in case, like, you know, I want to revert to, you know, a more simple version. So I just add all these other details in. I just like to have one on the side that's like a, you know, a safety net in case something happens, like that question about, not saving art. Like at least I know I've hit save, and if anything happens, there's a guy over on the side that I can pick up and kind of fix up.
Yeah. And do you do like versions as well, or is it just usually once you get to a certain point you'll save one sort of base version?
No, I'll do versions. I'll definitely do versions when it comes to kind of like that final phase of the project. So like once client starts making changes to artwork, I gotta have version 1, version 2, final art, you know, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, definitely have versions. Oh, I forgot his little
missing one whisker.
Did I just not do that whisker? Like, yeah, just like gave up on him.
Oh, poor little buddy.
He's been in a bit of a
in the
scuffle.
wars. Yeah. Yeah, time does go fast. Well, we got like 6 minutes left or something. Wow, today has gone so quick. I feel like we had another half an hour or something.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna get through this, but maybe not. But look, the principles are there. It all stands, and you know, it all makes sense. I think all you would do is start like looking at things like adding color layers and things like that, which is for me, you know, it's pretty easy. Like just chucking in colors, dropping them in on new layers to be a color layer. So I can quickly show you. So create a new layer. drop that guy on the color layer. And then you can just start doing like adding, you know, highlights, shadows, things like that. But the principle of the design is that you're kind of finding ways that the design can be built in a fashion that is, you know, the quickest way possible, and also like the most, I guess, time efficient for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you can see what we're doing here.
Like you could even do a 2-frame animation where it would just
just
go like that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like it's nice to have that option. So yeah, sorry I didn't get all the way through finishing the finished result, but
that was cool. We covered a lot of tools. Like I really like seeing the different methods and different use cases for a lot of the like different ways to draw in Illustrator, which is really cool. Like there's not like one solution. Like sometimes the pen tool is just unrivaled, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're doing the outline, like it's just so good. But then because of things like the smoothing tool, you could totally use the pencil tool if you know you have a tablet and it's something that you feel more comfortable with, drawing arcs and, you know, pulling the corners and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think you need to know that there's other ways to do things as well. You know, like I could sit here all day doing all the details in like numerous ways, and as long as it looks like what I need it to be at the, you know, in its end form, then I think it's a win, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, and I guess like the important part is like you just need to give everything a fair go. Like, yeah, try it out. If it doesn't work, scrap it, do something else, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like the three main parts is like having your direction set in stone from Photoshop, working out what smart ways you can build this. So building the brush to make this shape saved me, you know, the heartache of trying to draw curved lines the whole way around on that ring. You know, the blend tool doing the line work for me, it cut, you know, 10 minutes worth of getting those lines all accurately placed. I know you could probably do the same thing with those lines where it's Control D and just copy down the line, but there's a blend tool there for a reason. Just make use of what you have in front of you. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and it's great. It's great just to know that they exist as well, because you might find yourself in a brand new situation on another project and go, oh, actually, that blend tool could come in really handy here.
Absolutely. And I think that's what's important, like the knowledge of what's in front of you, not just like what you've been told, you know, like, so someone might say this is the only way. It's not. There's always other ways to do it. But I'll try to finish this little guy off and post him up on Instagram for people to check out. But yeah, if you guys want to ask questions or anything, please reach out. You know, I'm an open book when it comes to this stuff. I've got no secrets to hide. There are none. They've all come out.
That's awesome, man. Well, yeah, we are out of time for today. So happy Lunar New Year, everybody. And thanks for taking us through all of that, Dale. Of course, if you missed the first one, go and check that out. We covered a lot of Photoshop and a lot of Illustrator. So there's tons of stuff in here for all of you and everyone watching live. Hope you have a great morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is. But yeah, actually, let's do some confetti. Yay, we finished the stream. Thanks again, Dale. It's been great hanging out with you and looking forward to hanging out with you on Adobe Live again in the future.
Thank you so much, Flynn. It's always a pleasure.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Peace.